kill the brain and you kill the ghoul.
Hello boys and ghouls, and welcome to the Cold Dead Heart Horror Break, where we recap and review what we've watched, read, and collected over the past week. Occasionally in our horror breaks, we will visit a special topic, and that's what we'd like to do today by talking about our favorite horror romance films and deviously violent couples. I'm your host, Gigi, and joining me today are Chris from Blackened, Ken of the Dead, and C from Wither. Thank you for tuning in, fellow bleeding hearts, for our Love and Horror Valloween Special. Alright, let's get into it. Let's start with our newest member, Blackened. What's your favorite horror romance or couple?
Hey, so I know it's it's a little out there, but absolutely it would have to be Dracula and Mina Murray from Dracula's Bram Stoker. She's not really all into him, at first because she's engaged to marry the Jonathan. I can't remember his last name. Parker. Thank you. And it's just Dracula gets one look at her through that locket, and it's over. That obsession of thinking that it's his wife reincarnated, and he just starts working his magic, and eventually Winona Ryder just completely falls for him. Mm-hmm. It's twisted. It's definitely dark, and it's just it's great. The movie scared the hell out of me as a child, and as a kid, I never put the romance thing together. I was just more terrified about whether vampires were real or not at that point. And
that's what makes it a classic, right?
Right. Yeah. Because the film came out in 92, and I think I saw it when I was in either 4th or 5th grade. I had to do some stupid project for school, and my school let me pick Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I had to watch the movie for research, and it scared the hell out of me. But it's definitely got to be that, just that whole thing.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Gary Oldman, he's such an amazing actor. So
I mean, that whole movie was star-studded from the get-go,
Yeah. Yeah, they have, Anthony Hopkins in it. Anthony Hopkins. I think Winona Ryder is just absolutely beautiful. I think she's gorgeous. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Gary Oldman, Anthony Hopkins, Winona Ryder, Keanu Reeves. It's just like C said, it's just stacked with great actors.
I think that's when I first started liking blue sunglasses.
Right? When he's wearing that blue suit.
It's stylish as hell. That movie is all stylish. The one thing that sticks out to me, it's a little off topic, but it's always sat with me, is that red armor in the opening scenes. Mm-hmm. That red Dracula armor, man. And let me just say, I love this movie, and it was actually my backup to my number one. But I think it's romantic as hell. Again, in watching it as a kid, a young teen, it's an action vampire movie, but you watch that as an adult, and the romance is and that's, I think, indicative of Dracula anyways, right? It's a twisted romance for sure, but yeah, no, I love that movie, and I definitely think it's one of the best romantic horrors of all time for sure.
Absolutely. So that brings us around to you, Ken. What do you have as your favorite horror couple or horror romance?
Well, and this probably won't be a surprise to anyone, but Julia and Frank from Hellraiser is my favorite horror couple. Mm-hmm. Definitely twisted, definitely unconventional, but there is not just a uncontrollable attraction. And Frank's a dirtbag, right? And Frank's gonna leech off of any woman, but I think the love there, whether it's just this passionate pride or real love, but Julia, she goes to hell literally and back for Frank, and basically becomes a serial killer to bring him back to life from hell, all the while well married to his brother. So it doesn't get much more romantic than that, I guess.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
She's like it's the definition of being attracted to the ultimate bad boy. Like
and that's what it is, right? Yeah, like and her husband was a good dude, nice but safe. And here comes the black sheep brother, out in the rain, soaking wet, just full of surrounded by smoke and sex, right? Like, yeah. And here's the thing, and this is why I call it love, right? Is because if it was just attraction, if it was just physical attraction, right? When Frank came back from hell and he was just a puddle of fucking goo and bones, and that physical attraction is gone, right? Like, it's no more this good-looking dude, right? But she had that attractions built up so much in her, it became love, that not only did she accept him as this creature, but also basically threw her whole life away to get him back, right?
She kissed him when he had no skin and she had blood all over her damn lips,
right?
Yeah. Which I also will mark as one of the sexiest scenes in cinema. I'm a bit of a twisted fellow, though.
No. All right, see, what about you? What's your favorite?
So, like I was saying earlier, there's if you don't corner me into something specific, I'm just going to probably go with zombie themes every time. So, prepared for that. So I was thinking about this quite a bit, and I think the one that I would go to today was the Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
I knew you were going to put one.
Yeah. So I was actually a bigger fan of the book that came out in 2009 by Seth Grahame-Smith, which when they originally released it, it was more of like a parody of Pride, like the original Pride and Prejudice, and then back in, I think, was it 2015 or 2016 when they turned it into a movie that it took on a little bit more of that horror aspect, I think. It was really well done. They followed the plot line very, very similar to the original. I mean, I remember reading that back when I can't remember, maybe it was high school. It was one of those school readings that we always had to do, but it was very typical. The girl in the story didn't, she came from like a modest background or whatever. She met this very uptight and aloof guy named Mr. Darcy Bennett. Something, that was her name. And then, they hated each other at the beginning, and then it was one of those things where like they kind of slowly grew into each other. And it gets into the more romantic piece there, but yeah, I think that's probably going to be the one I'm going with tonight.
It's a good one. It's a good one. It had popped up in my like circle of thoughts when I was trying to think of like romantic horror movies. It definitely popped up. Yeah,
I mean, it popped up, but then it was like
fun to tell too.
It's what?
It's just a fun like yeah.
Yeah, they did a really good job with the adaptation. Keeping as true to the original as possible, but just throwing them in. This giant infected world mess.
Right.
Which, I mean, I think it played out really, really well.
Yeah. No, agreed. That's a good one, man.
I've actually got a zombie movie in my list of favorite romance movies because I couldn't pick just one.
How many did you narrow it down to?
So I've narrowed it down to 5, and that was a task, I'm going to tell you. Like, it was really honestly difficult because part of me really wanted to go with like Natural Born Killers, but I left it off, although one of my favorite couples.
For sure.
But yeah, so I'll just go through my list. One of them is from Shaun of the Dead, Shaun and Liz. I love them. You gotta love their little like redemption arc, they split up, they come back together, it's a zombie apocalypse. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they even introduced, I can't remember the girl's name, but it was the girl that Sean was familiar with back in their school days. Mm-hmm. And when they meet up and they got the two bands that are coming together,
Yeah.
They have like the exact mirror effect on the other side. Yeah, that's a good
Exactly.
one.
It's
That's a
cute.
good one.
And then, of course, I have like one of my all-time favorite couples, Chucky and Tiffany from Bride of Chucky.
Oh my God.
I was hoping
Yeah.
someone was going to bring them up. Yeah,
I
that's a
love
good one.
them. I love them.
Mhm.
All right, and now to like the sweeter side of things. Evelyn and Lee Abbott from A Quiet Place. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
John
That's a
Krasinski.
good one.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
sacrifice, love, you know,
Yeah.
the whole thing. And then Bert and Heather Gummer from Tremors. Like, you gotta love
Yes.
the prepper
Oh,
couple.
man. Yeah.
They are one of the best
And
couples.
then you have Reba. I mean, my God, I
Yeah.
love her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, she was so good in that.
And then my last one, it's a crime movie. It's not a horror. And so I was like, do I leave this off? But it's one of my favorites, and I can't think about romance without them. And that's Alabama and Clarence from True Romance.
Yeah, True Romance. Yeah, it's funny. I was going to bring it up, and I was like, it's not really horror. But,
It's not horror, yeah. But I mean, it's crime thriller so it's like adjacent.
The judge says acceptable.
Right. Thank you.
No, it's a good one. What a good movie, too.
Mhm.
Like, one of my favorite movies.
Oh, yeah.
So if you had gun to your head right now, pick top one.
Okay.
Say again.
So if I had a gun to my head and I had to say just one, I'm going with Chucky and Tiffany.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, pretty good.
Right?
What about some less conventional love? And maybe this doesn't even fit that mold, but one that had occurred to me was American Werewolf in London.
Oh. Okay.
With the nurse, right? Like, and I love them together, and I loved her in the way that she like kind of built that attraction, like taking care of him in the hospital. And is he crazy? Is he a murderer? Right? Like, and then like right up to the end, right? Like facing down the wolf in the alley, trying to like speak to the humanity of it. Like that was a big one for me. But there's like unconventional too, so like not even, you know, if we're just talking love and not so much romance, but another one that popped up in my head was Pumpkinhead and the father's love for his son, right? That gets killed. You know, I think that would qualify, not so much in the romance, but that's still love, right?
Right, yeah. And I mean, like, honestly, if you want to broaden it out to just like love in general, I think it's a big motivating factor in a lot of horror movies, both for the people to like survive and fight for something and for the monster. Like, okay, so in Silent Hill, the first movie adaptation, you know, she's looking for her daughter, and that's out of love. And then like you flip it around to Guillermo del Toro's Mama, and the mother's love is the reason that she's caring for these girls, even though it's ultimately destructive. But
yeah, no, that's a good one.
yeah. I mean, there's like just a lot of examples. It's a primary motivator for so many things.
Yeah, well, it's as primal an emotion as fear is, right? And I think that's maybe why they go hand in hand so well.
Yeah.
I think another one that's really, you know, absolutely twisted with one side and it stays one-sided is Candyman as well.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah, like he thinks Helen, you know, he wants Helen to be his victim because it reminds him of the woman that he fell in love with and the whole reason why he became Candyman.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Yeah, 100%.
So I was actually thinking earlier today, and on this topic of, you know, not quite romance, whether it's, you know, horror or kind of moving away from the genre itself. But when I was thinking about romance, my brain kind of shifted towards just love in general. And it made me think of the original Friday the 13th with Jason's mom.
Yeah.
You know,
That drove her like so crazy, right?
Yeah,
she killed a whole bunch of kids.
Hey, yeah, no, yeah, revenge, right? Revenge for, you know, something you love being taken from you. For sure, that counts.
Yeah,
I remember. I remember the first time seeing that, and just like that was like finding out it was her, and it's like, but I thought Jason.
Well, and like I'm just thinking now to some video games out there, and there's so many times that, like in Silent Hill, you know, you're looking for loved ones, or like in Alan Wake, the first one and the second one, it's all for like love, right? Alice is taken. Where did Alice go?
I think The Last of Us, that like the love that Joe has for Ellie, as like he wants nothing to do with her because of the loss of Sarah, his daughter, when the outbreak happened, and then he's forced to, you know, play this father role, and you know, it ends up he literally loves her so much that there is a small possibility to literally end the zombie outbreak, and he says, fuck all that, there's a chance she can die, I'm taking her with me. Like he literally, like he screwed the entire world possibly out of, you know, that love that he developed. And I think, you know, as a video game, like it did such an amazing job with that, you know, and that you know, that just goes back to it is love, but it's a different form of it.
Well, that's what I think a lot of like that resonates a lot with women too, because one of the things I always hear in kind of like in like book talk, for instance, is the reason girls like the villain is that you don't necessarily want somebody that would sacrifice you to save the world. You want somebody that would burn the world to save you.
I do. Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, that's true. At least for me.
Yeah, because it's like, what level, like, how far are you willing to go for this? Like, what are you willing to do?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if we're talking The Last of Us, I think we got to talk about Frank and Bill in that incredible episode that pretty much just told their love story. I thought that was beautiful.
Now,
did you guys watch it?
No, I didn't. I've never watched The Last of Us, the TV show. It's out of fear of them not staying true to the game, because the game was just so. Honestly, the game was so good. It's like when someone reads a book and then they watch the movie and they hate the movie because the book was so much better. That's just how, like, that's what it is for me. And I know everyone who's seen it, they said it's really, really good. But everyone that I've talked to who has seen it has never played the game. So that, I don't know. I have a little bit of a biased opinion on it. But in the game, you find out about it at the very end of that chapter, as Bill is like reluctantly helping you to get out of his town. You do find out, if you explore throughout the game a little bit, a guy hanging with a note, and Bill talks to you about it. It's glossed over very quickly in the game, but it is mentioned.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, as somebody who is an avid gamer and played the crap out of The Last of Us, that they did it right. Like, they did a good job with the adaptation. So, yeah, give it a shot. It's so worth it.
Okay, I will give it a shot tonight.
I've yet to catch up on it, but I am. It is a plan of mine, and I'm looking forward to doing it. But it just hasn't.
Have you ever played the game, C?
I have not. I went like 16 years of almost zero video games. And I've just recently, I would say in the last year to 2 years, gotten back into being relatively regular with it. And I have this problem with video games, and I had it when I was a kid, where, like, if I started playing a game, I would not switch games or change games until I had beaten the original. So I've only played, like, actually played through probably 10 full games in the last 2 years, I'd say. I got traumatized real bad because we were talking about Silent Hill earlier. I played Silent Hill 1 on PlayStation 1 and could never beat it. I probably logged 500 hours on that game, and I couldn't beat it. And then as a grown-up, I printed out the guide, like the walkthrough. That was like 40 pages long, and I still couldn't beat it.
Oh, man.
It was a hard game, though. I've got a kind of a funny story about Silent Hill 2.
Go for it.
So, at the time when it came out, I was living on my own in an apartment with 2 cats. And it was like a tiny little efficiency thing. And it had metal doors for the closet, like sliding doors. And so I had gotten home late from work. And I was playing Silent Hill 2 with most of the lights off in the apartment. And the cats got into like a fight with one another in the closet. And so those metal doors crashed against one another. I jumped out of my skin. I think I levitated to the light switch, turning every light in the apartment on.
That's funny.
Oh man, I was laughing through that whole piece. I knew where you were going with it, and I just couldn't stop laughing.
That's happened to me once in my life. Like, I've been into a hardcore horror since I was like 7, 8 years old, and like it's just like synonymous with me. Like, I don't get scared. It's not why I'm into horror. I've given up on that. So and like you see, I gave up on games a long time ago, but as an adult, I, slowly started to get back in. Maybe one game a year was kind of my thing,
God,
right?
y'all are killing me.
Yeah, I know.
And I picked up, it was around just like the beginning of October, and I was like, you know what, I want to get into a game. There was a weekend coming up where I had the whole weekend to myself. I'm like, let's see if there's any horror games, and I found Evil Within. Didn't know anything about it, but it was on sale or whatever, right? I'm like, well, that looks, cool for a weekend where I got nothing to do and have the house to myself. So I grabbed it, and that weekend came, and I got, all ready, drink on the coffee table, turned off all the lights, sat down with it, and I'm going to tell you something. Never in my life, in my entire life, have I ever got up to go turn on a light in the house because I was creeped out about something I was watching or playing. But that game creeped me the hell out. I legit got up and turned on the light.
You know what game did that to me? And it's a game that, it's a love thing. Father looking for his daughter, and it was Resident Evil.
Yeah.
What one was it? Village.
Yeah.
And a good buddy of mine got it, and he called me up and he was like, dude, I want to share play it. I want you to play, and I just want to see what your reaction. And it was anyone who played the game, there's a part where there's a giant baby that chases you throughout a house, and it's it's screaming and crying. And it was one of those where goosebumps literally ran through my entire body, and I got lightheaded because it scared the hell out of me so bad, and did the exact same shit. I turned on every light in this house, and I was like, dude, I don't want to play anymore. I was like, I'm done.
That baby was creepy as hell.
All right, guys. Yeah, thanks so much. I think this is a fantastic conversation, and we should totally do a horror video game episode next for our horror break. So
I'd love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Cool.
I'm about Valloweened out, I think.
Okay, guys, then to wrap things up, thank you so much to all of our cast and to everyone who popped in and listened to our little horror show. We really do appreciate it. Make sure to check out our horror news recap at the end of the month, every month, covering the best horror-related developments, updates in movies, books, comics, games, and collectibles. Until next time, keep it spooky.